All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, do something
All
different.
right.
Here we
All
go.
right. Okay.
We're live.
Yeah, a little Afro, what kind of almost like Afro-Cuban 12/8 feel right there, huh?
That was
Yeah.
close. That was
Yeah.
close.
That's what
Yeah.
I was going for. You said play something different. I
I love it. I
wasn't
love it.
ready, so I just
What's happening,
came out.
everybody? Welcome back to the Drummers Education Connection. My name is Jeremy Steinkohler, here with my two great buddies, terrific drummers, excellent educators, Rick Stojak, Bart Robley,
Howdy, y'all.
Welcome.
How's everybody doing?
and we are missing our friend Chip Ritter today. He'll be back with us next week, and we'll miss you, Chip, today. Before we get started, if you want to support, if you like what we do and you are interested in more of what we do, you can support us on our Patreon page. There's links up there that you can, just for a little donation, you get all kinds of cool stuff back from us. We got copies of our books, we got lessons, we got all kinds of stuff. So, hey, what's up, Fred? Let's see. Let's start with good things before we get into our today's topic. Today's topic happens to be about leadership, which is kind of an apropos. Today's a good day to talk about it. But we're not going to get too political, even though today's the debate. But we are going to talk more about that sort of in general in our lives and as musicians and what that looks like and how that shows up for people. Good things. What's happening for you, Rick?
You know, I'm proud of my wife. She is on a HOA board in San Diego, and they've got a big open house meeting, kind of like town hall thing, and they're trying to get understanding within the community and cooperation about the HOA. And I'm just really proud of her and the work that she's doing, and just trying to make a difference and help the community out. So
Nice.
what could be better than that? I'm just so proud of her.
Love it.
That's
Yeah.
cool, man.
You know, all those little things matter on the local level. You know,
Yes,
school
they
board
do.
stuff. You know, the PTA, the HOA,
Yes.
the musicians union, or whatever community you're connected with. All the things you do for your community make a difference, and they matter on the level. Think global, act local. Big fan. Our part was coming with you.
That's right.
We got the HOA, we got the PTA, and I'm an active member of the LMNOP,
What's that?
middle of the alphabet. Right there in the middle.
It's like, is that a new rudiment that I don't know?
Yeah.
I don't know. You know them all way better than me. Everything is great. Yesterday, my wife and I celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Yay! Congratulations.
So we actually celebrated all weekend. I had a gig Friday night, but then Saturday, Sunday, we kind of hung and celebrated. Went out to a beautiful brunch at a place called Orange Hill on Sunday. And I'd never been there, and it was Leah had been there a few times. I'd never been there. It was just a magnificent place for a nice brunch, and so we did that, and then you know, just kind of hung out together and celebrated being together for 25 years. And I really celebrated that she put up with me for 25 years, which I wouldn't do. And yeah, it's been magnificent. So we had a real nice time there, and same thing as normal on all the business fronts. You know, the D.E.C is doing great. SMB, Sam Morrison Band, is doing great. The books are doing great. I've got a new album coming out. It's doing great. Our new single, which is on Spotify right now, it's a metal single, Bone on Bone. Jeff Duncan from Armored Saint played the guitar solo on that thing, and that song's doing great. I got it signed. I got it signed into Sync Licensing last week, so I'm stoked about that. So things are great, man. Things are going really good. So
Is that the ballad, Bone on Bone?
Bone on Bone. It's a ballad. Yeah. There's so many directions I could go with that right now. I'm such a smart ass. So I'm just going to do what I don't do very often. I'm going to shut the hell up. And I'm going to say, Jeremy, what is happening with you up in the Bay Area?
Man, I had a really, really, really good weekend. 3 gigs, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The first one was a fundraiser for a couple of Democratic senators who were out here Tammy Baldwin from Wisconsin and Bob Casey from Pennsylvania, and they did this private party thing, and I just got called for last minute to sub for it, with a great band, and had a really great time at this beautiful house in the hills overlooking the bay, for good cause, really good cause. Those guys are great. Really impressed with both of them. Then played with the Bonafides in New Orleans R&B band on Saturday. That was also a last minute gig I wasn't planning on. And then I had sort of the jewel in the crown, which was a trio show with Evan, my son, on Sunday at the Back Room. Rick, you've been there to see me once
Oh,
before.
I love that place.
Yeah, and it was a sold out crowd,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Evan played his ass off, and it was, man, I can't tell you how much joy it brings me to play with my son and play music at that level with him. It's just so gratifying. I'm so proud of him. I'm just like filled up from that experience. It was
Do you have any video? Could you share any with us?
Can I play a little bit of video for you guys?
Yes.
Love that.
We'd love that.
Let me see if I can find it real quick.
The Back Room bar. You'd love the Back Room. It's just full of couches all over the place. You feel like you're in someone's living room.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
yeah,
check
nice
that
brick
out.
wall. Yeah. You can bring
Where's that at?
wine and
Where's that at?
cheese and food.
It's in Berkeley.
Okay.
It's a venue called the Back Room. It seats about 80, 90 people.
Yeah.
And it's really intimate. You know, it's a listening room, like it's a BYOB situation, like Rick said. And you can, you know, it's just couches and then some chairs around the perimeter, and it's very intimate. Like you're right there, and you're there to just listen to the music, as opposed to like a bar where there's lots of, you know, background noise going on and people yakking and stuff. It's a listening room. So it's a great, and they have terrific music. Some world-class stuff comes through there. As small as the venue is, they get some really, really good bands playing in there. And so anyways, here's a little bit. This is one of his original tunes, that Evan wrote. Let's see what comes through. Can you guys hear that okay?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Dude.
Oh, bravo.
Gosh.
Man.
Thanks.
You know, that, Rick, you're right. I would love to go there and see that place. And one of the, Evan is amazing. I mean, oh my God, Jeremy, you've got to be so proud that kid can play. And one of the things, I mean, as far as Berkeley is concerned, we were talking about this the other day at brunch.
The city of Berkeley.
The city of
great.
Berkeley
Yes.
is so cool. It really, like in the
Mhm.
hills, it kind of reminds me of the Hollywood Hills a little bit. But
Yeah.
that place that we went and saw him play that night, and you
Mm.
see places like that, they just support the arts. And
Mm.
man, that's something else, man. That town that's really cool, man.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really cool.
It was pretty special. It was, and the range was one of the most exciting things for me. Like there was that was like a little waltz that he had written, super light, and then we got into some heavy. He wrote this funk tune in 15/8 that was super jamming, and it was like I was like holding on for dear life, just trying to get through the thing.
I was gonna say, you just gave me a headache thinking about it, man.
It was like, I think when we played it together, it was the first time I actually nailed it all the way through. So I was like, this is my going off to college present for you, Evan, is I'm going to play this tune right for a change.
Oh, wow.
That's great, man.
Yeah,
So
it was cool.
So
If we have time at the end, I'll play another little snippet for you, but we'll get into it.
That was great. I like seeing the couple holding hands. I felt like they were having a really sweet moment, and you guys were providing that vibe for them. It was really cool.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Nice. Yeah.
And then quick question, Jeremy. I heard a lot of nice hi-hat openings. Were you doing some foot pop? Were you doing some foot pops?
All the time, man. That's one of my.
Oh man.
That's one. You know how like we all have things that we do. Like if you listen to Bart play long enough, you'll catch some of his stuff. Like, oh, that's a Bart-ism or a Bart move or a Bart lick. And I use a lot of left foot splashes in my jazz playing and my rock, my rock playing too.
Yep.
Hey, when we sat in with the band that night, when I sat in with the band that night, you know, up there at the Fourth Bore.
Yeah.
We were up there playing, and I'm like, Jeremy's watching me play right now. I gotta get one of those. I totally did that. I really believe that when you're thinking and you're playing, you're totally like gonna suck. So I try really hard not to, but I'm like, man, Jeremy's watching.
That's hilarious.
I gotta work on it, and I think I did.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, it's a thing, man. It's just that's part of my palette, you know.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's cool.
Sometimes I forget that we're having a show. I feel like it's just
right.
I know. We talk for hours, and we're going to. As a matter of fact, before we get into our topic, want to announce to our community that's paying attention, we have picked a date for the next Deck Day.
What is it?
April 26th.
Yeah.
So
April 26th.
We are going to be back down at the Aquarian Warehouse / factory in Orange, California. And that's right in these guys' backyard. And it's going to be April 26th of 2025. And this is going to be our third Deck Day. And the last two have been super successful. Great turnout, great hang, super fun. And we have the added benefit of being at the Aquarian spot where, you know, last time they were generous enough to give everybody a snare head who walked in the door. They gave a tour of the factory. They had discounts on heads. So on top of all the great educational clinics and content that we were offering, there was this cool aspect of learning how drum heads are made and checking them all out and getting a discount. So
I made a faux pas. I have a new head that I want to show on the show, but it's on a drum in the garage. You guys start the show. I'm going to go grab this drum really quick.
All right.
I should have had it in here. So anybody that's watching this, I apologize, but I put it on a drum the other night before a gig. I told Mike Brooker I would, and I'm going to go get it and show it on the show. So, talk amongst yourselves.
All right. Oh, this is exciting. We're always stoked to see new gear, right? Such junkies. I think that's what brings us all together.
That's one of the things for sure.
Us drummers, you know, what are you playing? What kind of heads are you using? What kind of set? Are those foot pops, or did you do it with the hand? Or both?
Yeah, no, see, you do it with the foot, and then you get your hands free to do other stuff. So it's like a third voice, right? You're just comping with the hi-hat splash. Yeah.
Yes. I always marvel at the Latin drummers,
Oh my God, I know. So
you know?
those guys have their left feet like integrated with all these syncopated rhythms and clave, often a clave pattern. That's like, oh man, that would take me like weeks to get just one of those things down, and these guys do it like it's nothing but a thing, you know?
It's it's so complex that it always blows my mind to see that.
Yeah,
Full clave.
next level coordination for sure.
Yeah. Wow. He's fast. Look at that. He's back already. But by the way, Jeremy, I in my volume 4, the Mastering Triplets, little shameless plug,
Yeah.
there is a whole section on foot splashes or foot
Oh, there you
pops.
go. Beautiful.
Yep, yep. There's a whole section on that in a jazz context.
Nice. Oh,
Nice.
Yes, yes,
maybe I'll do my clinic on that.
yeah.
Oh,
I would love
dude,
to see that.
I
That
would
would be
love to see
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That would be really good.
So I know we're gonna start the show one of these days. But Mike, let's see, which camera do I want to go to here? Do I want to go to that's the new foot cam? That's not the one.
Oh.
There's the sky cam. Okay, so Aquarian came out with a new bottom snare drum head. Wait for it, guys. Blammo.
Wow.
Whoa.
It's called the Retro Rezo. Okay. It is a very thin head. It's the same as what you're used to, but instead of 3 mil, it's 3.5. And it is just an amazing sounding rezo head. And then it's kind of coupled with this snare drum head here, which is a single ply coated, which is basically just a regular single ply coated head. But the coating on it, from what I understand, and Chris is going to watch this, or Micah is going to watch this and go, Bart, you really blew it. But from what I understand, the coating is a bit thicker on it, right? So it just dampens it just a bit, just a skosh. And matter of fact, I wouldn't have had a sky gel on there that night, but the other night at this gig that we played, the front of house guy wanted it on there, so I put that on there just to loosen it off a little bit. But it's an amazing sounding snare drum, great head. So check out check those heads out, the Retro Rezo by Aquarian Drumheads. Aquarian has been a long time supporter and sponsor of D.E.C, and so I wanted to get that on there. I apologize for not having that ready. It totally, completely slipped my mind, and so Mike and Chris, I apologize. But there you have it, the Retro Rezo. Okay, on with the show. Sorry for my interruption, Jeremy.
No, not at all. That's cool. So we were going to talk about leadership, and Bart, you were the one who had the thought on this one. And I'm curious for you, what inspired you to bring this up as a topic for discussion? I have lots of thoughts about it. I've written about it in my book. But I'm curious for you, what was the instigate? What was the spark that made you think of it?
Well, what really made me think about it is that I really think that when I think about D.E.C as an entity, if you will, I think each one of us has amazing leadership qualities. But where we shine together as a team is that we each have an active restraint when to pump the brakes and let the other guy take over. And I think that we've shown this very well for the last 3 years, and especially during the 3 D.E.C Day events, or the 2 D.E.C Day events so far. But there was zero egos. Everybody was cool, and we all helped each other work together. Now, here's what I mean by that. When we take the one up in the Bay Area that we just had this year, it was at Jeremy's school, Bandworks, and Jeremy set it all up. He had everything ready for us when we got there. Everything from from the PA hooked up, ready to go. He brought in Brooks Drums, a company that he endorses, and had a place for Brooks to set up and showcase a drum set. He had a drum set. I played on it a little bit during my clinic, ready to go. He had his kit there ready. Well, the same kit he played on for the clinic. It was ready to go. The kit that Rick and Chip played on was ready to go. He brought in, correct me if I'm wrong, round sound cymbals, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, round sound cymbals. He set that all up, had everything set up for round sound cymbals, an area for them to showcase their cymbals and what it is that they do. He totally took the bull by the horns, and we got there, and not only did that go down great, but as mentioned when we watched Evan play, he made arrangements for us. Hey, we're going to go after deck day. We're going to pack it up. We're going to run by my house, drop some stuff off. I know this great restaurant, and then we're going to go watch Evan play this concert. And it was all just Jeremy took the bull by the horns, and we all, okay, you're our leader. We followed you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing how well it was done. When we did the deck day at Aquarian, the same thing. In that case, the ball was sort of in my court because I've been there a million times, and it's like, right there. And I went over and we all came together, and I had everything set up and ready to go. We brought in, everybody brought in their stuff for the giveaways. Jeremy goes, okay, Chip, you're going to do this. You're going to put the bags together. Rick, you're going to do this. Bart, you keep doing that. And there was just this leadership quality that each one of us had, but nobody ever got their toes stepped on. And we all, it was successful because of the leadership that put it together. And then I like to work it into with, I've been in the Sam Morrison band for 25 years. Wow. And we're doing some amazing gigs this year. I mean, the last 2 years, the band has really just been, swing over the fence, swing over the fence. And I'm not breaking my arm, patting myself on the back with that. It's been 25 years of ass busting work to get there. But we all, okay, Sam, you're giving us our due north. Go. Mm-hmm. And then within his due north, we have one guy that is totally our financial guy, the bass player. This guy is an amazing guy with money. You take care of the money, right? We all know when to jump in and do our thing and make it happen.
Yeah.
And so those are the two things that popped into my mind. And I kind of have a couple of students. I have a student right now who's a young kid, and they have a band. And the band is starting to play, and they're starting to do a lot of work. And they have one of the band members' moms is kind of trying to be their manager. And it's kind of working, it's kind of not. And so I think that they're lacking in leadership. And I think the lacking in leadership is because they're young. They don't know what to do.
Right.
And so the mom is trying to help, and they're kind of asking me questions and picking my brain, trying to help. And for those of you guys who know this, I'm all of us are writers, but I'm also a writer, and I do a lot of blogging for Medium. Now, if you're not a Medium member, you can go on there. I think it's $5 a year to sign up, something really low. And there's incredible articles on everything. I have articles that you have to be a member to read, and then some that you don't, that are just up there. And I wrote an article on leadership is everything, and that's kind of what I titled this show. And I think it's something that young musicians, young drummers can learn from. That you have to either be the guy that, okay, the buck stops here, I'm doing, and this is where we're going to go, or you have to let the ego just, go to the side and follow that guy because they're taking you where you need to be. And I think that there's this fine balance there that is not always there. I know it wasn't there for me when I was younger. It definitely wasn't. I was the guy that I was a battering ram. I was I was as subtle as a bulldozer. And you can't do that. You just can't do that. So I thought it was a great topic, and I thought, and I would love to hear your guys' take on it, and I would and I would love to hear your guys also, honestly, anybody's critique on some of the things that are said, because it's something I'm really passionate about. You know, if you're
Mhm.
going to take the bull by the horns, do it, and do it all the way to the best of your ability.
Mm.
That's my thoughts.
Love it.
I've got a lot of stuff to contribute and think about and talk about, and you know, for to begin with, you know, not everybody's cut out to be a leader.
Right.
And that's fine. Like it does, imagine a world where everyone wanted to be the leader or even had the skills to be the leader. We'd be screwed, right?
Right.
So, and it's not that the leadership position is necessarily a better position or a more important position than, you know, other roles that are involved in whatever, in an organization or a business or a band, right? If you're the drummer in the band and you're not the leader of the band, does that mean your role is any less important? No, right? Everyone has a role to play, and all the things have to happen for the thing to come off successfully, right?
Right.
You know, think about a show and how many people go into a successful show. There's the composer, the arranger, the performers, the audience, the venue, the manager, the production people, the lighting people, the sound guy. Like all these things have to happen, and any one of those pieces falls down and the whole thing can fall apart. So this goes for
Completely.
business, this goes for sports, this goes for everything, right? So that's for starters. You know, don't this isn't a conversation to suggest that everybody should be a leader and tap into your leadership and all that kind of thing.
It's the polar opposite.
Right. You know, that said, there's I think there are some people that kind of know, you know, they have that kind of type A personality, and they're assertive, and they have ideas that are good ideas, you know, and they're smart people, and they can manage people well. But that's a critical piece of it. Like you it's not just about having good ideas. You have to be a good communicator. You have to be sensitive to other people and group dynamics, and really be a good listener and pay attention, right? You can't be a good leader without being a good listener. I believe that 100%.
Yes.
And you know, I think that there's one way of thinking about leadership is that you can sort of this is maybe a little reductive, but you can think of it in terms of there's two kinds. There's like vision-based leadership and approval-based leadership. And approval-based leadership is all about wanting to make sure you get all the kudos or, you know, acknowledgement, or wanting to make people happy, let's say. So we've all known people like that.
People pleasers, right?
People pleasers, exactly. Yes, people. And like, oh, you know, their idea of being a leader is like, let's make sure everybody's happy. And that's pretty much an impossible task. Right. And because, you know, you make one person happy, that's gonna make somebody else unhappy. And if you keep trying to go, you know, doing that, you're gonna end up making everybody unhappy and driving I know this from experience, you know. When I ran a music camp for several years, and I run BandWorks, right? I've done that for 30 years. So, you know, I'm sort of a leader in my community, and I've learned a lot of hard lessons from all my experiences. And I think that so to contrast with that, you know, vision-based leadership, where you're really leading based on a vision that you have for what you want this thing to be, the band and where it wants to go, or the camp and what community it wants to serve, or, you know, the country and what's in the best interest of the country, right? Or whatever. It goes for on every level, whether it's the PTA or city council or your band or, you know, whatever.
Right.
And that's, you know, so but that's one thing. That's just a part of it too, because you can have all the vision in the world, but, you know, being able to implement that and being able to surround yourself with the people that help you create a team to implement that is another story, right? You can be Bart. You could have the greatest idea for a band and write all the music, but you don't surround yourself with the right people to make that vision come true. You got nothing.
Exactly.
Right.
And let me throw this in to you, Jeremy, since you mentioned it, and it's been talked about a minute ago by myself too, and Rick as well. The deck day thing that we did up at BandWorks.
Mm-hmm.
You run that, you run the show there, you're the guy. How many people do you have that work with you or for you? And what is something as a leader that you look for in those people to get them to do their job so that everything's a success?
Yeah, that's a big question. But the first part is easy. And to be clear, I started Bandworks not on my own, but with a friend,
Right.
Steve Gibson, who's a guitar player and bass player and teacher, and just a great guy. I'm sorry you guys didn't get to meet him when you were here, but we both sort of had the idea together and hatched this thing, and have built this business as friends, and we play in bands together for years and years. So we both have our own roles of leadership within the organization, right? So it's not just like I'm the boss, he's the vice president, he's the boss, or anything like that. Like he handles hiring. You know, he finds new teachers and at this point trains new teachers. That used to be a thing we designed together, the training. But you know, I handle, you know, all the other logistics about the business, the contracts and the finding spaces and setting up concert venues and all this kind of stuff. And now we have a guy who runs our day-to-day operations, because we've kind of, you know, over the years kind of phased ourselves out of as much of the day-to-day as we can. And so, and his name's Stace, and he's amazing. He's like the best quarterback you could ever want on your team. And that was a huge thing, like finding him and deciding he was the right guy to take on those responsibilities. And so, you know, you needed someone who was a self-starter, someone who, you know, had the confidence to move forward with things, but not the pig-headedness to do them without, you know, checking in when he needed to, knowing when it was the right to check in.
Right.
You know, who had a vision of his own, but was also that it was compatible enough with our vision so that we could give him, you know, a lot of free reign to sort of, you know, build it, and have him be invested like it's his own. Even though he's not an owner of the business, I know 100% that he feels like it's his, you know, like
Right.
he's a part of it. And like, this
Right.
is really important to him, the quality of what we offer, the rock band experience for the kids and the adults and the summer camps. And, yeah.
I think in a way, and I'm really kind of going out in left field here, but I think that all three of us can say that about ourselves when it comes to, for sure, Aquarian drumheads and Sabian cymbals, because all three of us are with Sabian. So we're literally endorsers. We're guys that are out there playing, you know, the boots on the ground, if you will, you know, but we believe in these products. So that's why we so passionate, like, this is part of us. We're part of that team, right? That's kind of, I know that's how I feel about my products. I mean, and that's what you're getting at, that this guy does for Bandworks, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, we were fortunate, you know. I mean, it's. I mean, I feel fortunate to have people like him connected to the organization, but it's also, it's not just luck, right? I mean, we built it, and we built a sort of value system around it, or I should say, we built it around a value system, and you know, people are attracted to it who are the people, or the right kind of people. You know, if that makes sense. Like he actually, interestingly, he was actually a teacher for us before he became our program coordinator. So, you know, he was connected to it. His kids went through the program and he loved it. And he's like, wow, this thing is awesome. You know, I want to be even more a part of this. So, you know, that it didn't come from nothing. Like, we just stumbled.
Yeah.
You know, or we didn't hire him on whatever, you know, findajob.com. You know, it's all about, you know, I mean, and even that, like, guys, it's the same thing about like finding a life partner, you know, a girlfriend, a wife, husband, whatever you want. If you can go around from relationship to relationship, kind of like a pinball, you know, reacting, and no, I'm in this relationship, and I'm in this one, and sort of, you know, but it's, I at least for me, it wasn't until I had a clear vision about what I wanted out of that primary relationship that I ended up finding the person that was the right fit. You know, like I just was like going around, not really knowing what I was doing, you know, in one, in the next. And after enough of it, I was like, God, you know, maybe I should really take some time to think about what it is that I want, that it is that I need. Right. So the vision piece is really key. And I think that's totally true for leadership too.
That's right. You have to have some clarity to lead properly. You have to have an idea of the direction.
And that's part of, sorry, Rick, but that's part of why, you know, generally older people make better leaders, you know. I mean, I don't mean that to sound ageist or anything, because there's plenty of amazing, dynamic young people out there who have leadership in their bones, you know. and we're great at it. But like, there's something about experience, the wisdom that comes from experience.
Yep.
Right.
Completely. I mean,
Exactly.
experience is, it's experience. I mean, you've, again, back to what I was saying a minute ago about myself, there's no way that I would, when I was younger, that I was fit to be where I'm at now. I thought I was.
Right.
I totally thought I was. Totally
Exactly.
thought I was.
Yep.
But now I look at my younger self and go, what the? No, I wouldn't hire that guy.
Right. Right.
You know, there's no way. And so now, a lack of leadership, okay, can obviously, and I'm stating the obvious here, but it can do the polar opposite. If you've got somebody that is, like for instance, my one student who has this band, they're trying to get gigs, they're trying to do all this stuff, but they don't have one person that's saying, this is where we're going to go. And then, so they can't make anything happen. They're just running around in the same circle, chasing their tail, as we all did, and then pretty soon you start learning. But if you have somebody that's like, okay, I'm the leader, I'm the person, in a band situation, I'm the guy I'm going to set the due north for the band, but they're not doing their job. Well, the band's never going to succeed.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard this story. I know you guys have too, from your students. Like, they get together with their friends to jam, and it's like, okay, we're finally here. We're all in the garage. We're going to do it. What do you want to play? I don't know. What do you want to play? I don't know. What do you want?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And very little gets done because there's no leadership. And so leadership doesn't have to mean that, I know there's some people, younger people especially, who are maybe a little bit fearful about stepping into a role of leadership because they're like, oh, I don't want to ruffle people's feathers. I don't want to make it like I'm the boss. I'm not the boss. I'm just a regular person like you. Right. But a lot of times that's exactly what's needed. And you can do that in a way that says, hey, I can see that we're feeling we're kind of disorganized here, or there's nobody sort of taking the reins. I have an idea. Do you think we could try this idea? Can I try this out and take on the leadership role? And is everybody okay with that? You don't have to make it like all Democratic vote or anything, but just like, lean in, man, lean in and take the reins when you see that something needs to be done. I'll give you an example. When the first year that I ever taught at Cazadero Music Camp, where I've been teaching for the last 30 years. And for those of you who don't know, I every summer I go up to this music camp in the Redwoods, about 2 hours from here in Sonoma County, and it's gorgeous setting, and it's about 250 people, and I teach a rock band that's about 25 people big, and I teach a Motown / soul band that's 25 or 30 people big. And so, I'm the director of the band, and I've got 6 singers and 8 horn players and 6 guitar players and 3 drummers and 4 keyboard players and 3 bass players. And, we've got a week, 5 hours basically of classes to put together 3 tunes that are ready for performance. Right. So it's like, there's no hesitation. It's like, bam, bam, we do this. But the first year I taught up there, I was hired to be the assistant to the rock band teacher, right? The lead teacher. And I saw, like, on the first day, he was like disorganized and like didn't, there was like so little got done. And it was painful for me to watch, because I knew that this just needed leadership and sort of, assertiveness to make things happen. And so I stepped into that role. And on the second day, I was like, hey, man, are you cool if I have some ideas? And like, he's like, yeah, sure, go for it, man. I'm kind of over my head. And, from then on, it was like, bam, we hit the ground running. And it was like, okay, from the top, take the chorus. Okay, bass and drums on, let's hear the guitars on the bridge, whatever. And that ended up getting me the job, because I was equipped, right? And I knew what I was doing, and I was a good fit. And then I taught there for the next 30 years. So, there was a situation where I didn't want to step on his toes because he was the lead guy, but I asked if it was cool, and I had the chops, and I had the vision, so
there's the word.
Don't be afraid, man. It's like, if you have ideas in your band, even if you're not the band leader, like, speak your mind.
Right.
Yeah. I think a great band leader, my brother led all of my bands growing up, and it was a really, really tough job. And I think a great great leader really involves everyone and is not a dictator. It's
Mhm.
not you do this, you do this, you do this.
Right.
It's sort of like you have to have people feel like they're engaged and involved in the decision making. People in this country especially don't like to be told what to do.
Yeah. Right.
And and so you have to kind of work together with them and validate their abilities, and then a great leader would find their strengths. And
Mhm.
so often, we would be working on a song, and let's just say the bass player wants to play, and then we're trying to work on a song. My brother wrote the song, okay, and he's thinking, well, wait, I just need boom, 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 and the bass player's like, what? That's gonna suck, right? And then the keyboard, you just do this one chord over it.
Mhm.
And they're like, "Oh my god, this is boring. People are gonna think we'll suck," you know? And like he's like, "Please, just will you guys just do that for a moment?" And then he would throw this guitar part over it that connected it all together. And it just linked up beautifully, like, like a Pink Floyd song or a Beatles kind of
Mhm.
song.
Mhm.
And rather than just chaos. So man, a leader has to be very, very diplomatic, and it's not just with leading bands. I think it's every part of our lives. I mean,
Sure.
first off, we've got to lead ourselves. We've
Yeah.
all got these crazy brains that are all telling us all these negative stories and trying to
Mm.
fix
Mm.
everything up all the time, and we're all
Mm. Mm.
all stressed out. And so like we're making decisions every minute of every day, and you've got to learn to lead yourself first in
Yeah.
in your responses to the world. That's a big task. So I think learning history, diving into books, you have to be a learned person to get it all together, and read books, read Finding the Groove, read Bart's Rhythmic Journey, and Zorro's book, The Big Gig. So,
Yeah.
just study it. I'm listening to this podcast, A History of Rock and Roll Drumming in 500 Songs.
Mm. Mm.
Um, each episode is about 45 minutes, and it's telling you the history of all of the significant players and how and significant songs and how everyone evolved and who was the leader, and you could just learn from that. So I think you just have to really, really understand history and dive in and be patient and learn how to delegate and and involve people.
Rick,
So
you just nailed so many things, and one of the things that
yeah.
one of the reasons that I love D.E.C so much is because we all learn from each other. One of the things that
Yeah.
I've learned so much from you, Rick, is the positive energy thing. I always call Rick the positive energy hand grenade. Like 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 really learning about the history of stuff, and sometimes I think learning about stuff, maybe even like learning on listening to things that maybe you don't disagree with or you don't agree with, so that you learn why you think a certain way.
That's
I think
smart.
is important. I've
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
I listen to I listen to a lot of podcasts too, and I'm pretty religious about hitting the gym every morning or trying to hit the gym in the morning. And if I'm doing yoga, I don't listen to a podcast. I just kind of am very mindful. And
Mhm.
I think, Rick, one of the things that you just said, we got to learn to lead ourselves. And I think being mindful of yourself in the moment is so important,
Yeah.
because and I was joking earlier about when we played at Deck Day, and Jeremy's watching. I better get a hi hat splash in there. I
Mhm.
try not to do that when I
Sure.
play.
Yeah.
I try not to think. I try to
Sure.
just be part of the music and be mindful. There again, there's that word again, being right in that
Mhm.
moment of being right there. So when I do yoga, I do that. But when I'm over, pumping iron or lifting weights or whatever, I put on a podcast and and one of the I've been listening. He has so many podcasts out right now. Jordan Peterson, whether you like him, dislike him, agree with him, disagree with him, there's no denying that the guy is just brilliant. I mean, he's such a great speaker, and there's a lot of things that he talks about where I'm just like, ugh. But but I think sometimes where things intersect, where you find things like, oh, well, yeah, you pick up little nuggets of things from somebody, and you learn from them. And I'm a big believer in podcasts and positive energy stuff.
Yeah.
And another, listening to books. I listened to Arnold Schwarzenegger's latest book at the beginning of the
Oh,
year when I was working out, and and just some of the stuff that he did and the things he's gone through in his life. It's like, man, this guy's brilliant. I mean, he's just a brilliant guy. Again, you agree with him? Great. You don't agree with him? Great. I mean, we don't need to be polarized about this. This is something I learned from. And I think that that's important. And I think it's important in drumming and in the business of being a drummer. I think it's important. And look at okay, let's come back over here to Rick for a second. I mean, look at his studio. His studio is amazing. And he didn't build that studio because he didn't have great leadership qualities. He doesn't teach the amount of students that he teaches and write these amazing books, 4 amazing books that touch so many people's lives because he doesn't have great leadership qualities.
thanks.
And I can say the same exact thing about Jeremy up there in the Bay Area, with BandWorks and all his students. And I think we need to learn to draw from the people around us who are leaders so that we can lead ourselves. I think that's important.
There's a couple of comments I want to bring up here that people have made. So Fred says, oops, sorry, that's not the right one. Fred says, leadership is the ability to motivate those around us to want to do our best for the health of the team. What do you guys think about that?
Yep.
There's Fred Fisher. That's a 10.
Yeah, that's right out of the park.
Motivation is a really big one, right? I mean, that is the job of a leader for sure, to motivate.
Yes.
One of the things I talk about, plug for my book, The Rhythmic Journey. One of the things I talk about, motivation versus discipline. Sometimes, you can be motivated as hell. I just watched Rick play a 12/8 Afro-Cuban thing. Okay, now I got to practice some 12/8 Afro-Cuban. Right. And then I sit down to do the 12/8 Afro-Cuban, and I realize right away, man, I really suck at this. And so there's the determination to get better at the 12/8 Afro-Cuban thing. So a good leader can also help you with that, dig down and get that determination and really pull that, motivate you to find your own determination, I guess, if you will. So
you got the connection between the leader and the rest of the community or the rest of the group is so important, right? I mean, for a leader to be a successful leader, there has to be investment and belief and buy-in and trust. Trust is a really big one. Trust that the leader has the best interest of the group in mind, and trust, that the leader. So you're putting a lot of trust in your leader to do what they believe is best for the whole group, right?
Right.
And the leader has to trust the group, right, and not sort of remove themselves and then start looking out for themselves like some other leaders we know. Jacob Sosa shares that leadership is a radius. So that's an acronym which he defines as reaching across different industry of skills and uncovering solutions.
Very well said, Jacob.
Making a choice of taking responsibility, not just for the sake of taking responsibility, but to see what skill sets other people have and find a solution to reach an idea or goal.
Yeah.
So there's something there about like being able to identify, in the group. Okay, so it's like it's not just, hey, I'm the leader. It's like, no, okay, I'm the leader, but Bart, you're really good at scheduling. So hey, are you okay taking on schedule? And Rick, you're really good at art, making art. Can you do the t-shirt design for the band, right? And sort of delegating and seeing whose skills can blend together so that you can manage a team and bring everybody to their fullest potential for the success of the group. I think that's what Jacob's getting at.
I like the word solution in there because especially as a teacher, we have to have a solution for a person to evolve. We've got to figure out how we're going to get them from point A to point B. And
a problem.
You guys,
if there's a problem, what is the solution? What is the problem, and how are you trying to get to the solution? Yeah.
Right. And then identify, there is a problem. might need to work on this or that. So
Sam does that a lot. He like
yeah,
when something happens with the band, let's say, we had an incident this last week where four of us flew home, and Sam and Walt were driving the gear across the country with the trailer, and tire flew off the trailer. Could have killed everybody. Could have killed Sam and Walt, and it didn't. By the grace of God, they got pulled over. They didn't even know what happened. The guy came up, pull over. Tire came off. Blah 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 blah. They got. Long story short, we ended up losing the old trailer. I found us somebody that was in Nebraska. I found a guy in Nebraska on Labor Day weekend that was able to come pick up the trailer and hey, he's going to recycle it. He's going to fix it and sell it. Sam found a trailer dealership, bought the new trailer, got it hooked up, loaded up, got the old gear, got the gear out of the old trailer into the new trailer, and got it home. And the leadership role that he took on with that, just to say, okay, called Greg and I, what do you think we should do? I don't know what to do. And we both threw in our 2 cents. Hey man, you're in the middle of Nebraska. It's Labor Day weekend. It's going to take forever to find the part. You're going to be there for 2 weeks, and it's going to be cheaper to buy a new trailer. We ended up with a way better trailer for our gear. He found a trailer, spent some money that's going to come off the top of the gigs for the next few months. I found a guy to come recycle it. His leadership qualities of going, Greg, you do this, Bart, you do this, I'm going to deal with this, is what pulled it through. And it was a bad situation, right? It was a bad situation, but again, he proved himself as a leader because he delegated what each one of us should do. We found our skill. How do you find a skill set to find somebody that can recycle a trailer in the middle of Nebraska? You become resourceful. He knew that we could do it. Right. And I mean, I'm telling that story not as a way to boast, but as a way, to teach. That's how I teach my students, the real world application. Right. That's what he did. And I think that's a great example of a leader right there.
I have a situation that comes up from time to time with my students, newer students especially, who I feel like they're trying to assume the leadership role. And I'm wondering how you guys handle this. And what happens is these students will say, hey, Rick, I really want to learn to play this Tool song or this Rush song or something so far over their head. And they're like, I've just got to play that. And honestly, they don't even play drums yet. Right. And they're like here for like one easy lesson to learn to be an expert. And, my response is, well, I take them through the book series. Let's just get kick, snare. Let's just get that and play to a song. And so I'm forever like, I love your song. I love Tool too, but maybe we should work on something graspable and in a way where we are working towards that Tool song, but we can't start with that. So do you guys get that a lot where people are like, man, I've got to play Rosanna, but or the halftime shuffle, or they can't even play a shuffle yet. So do you guys experience that, and how do you handle it?
I have many times.
Yeah.
If it's somebody that's a beginner and they've never played drums before, then what you just said is the obvious, right?
Yeah.
It's just absolutely, hey, look, you got to walk, you got to crawl before you can walk, and you got to walk before you can run. Let's get the limbs going. Let's get some basic reading skills and this and that. Recently I had subbed for a friend of mine on a teaching thing, and guy wanted to work on the Purdy shuffle, right? So I'm like, okay, that's cool, and let's work on the Purdy shuffle. And it became kind of clear that maybe we need to work on a couple of other things in shuffles before we
Right.
go to the Purdy shuffle. And I have, and this just again comes from years and years and years of teaching. I have so many resources to pull from, as you guys do.
Yep.
I have Rick's book to pull from, but one of the things that I pull from all the time, I've got a PDF of an old Modern Drummer article, the last article that Ron Spagnardi wrote before he was passing, called "It's All About the Feel," and it's all these halftime shuffles. And I was like, let's run through some of these, and got the guy going. Kind of, and he was really
Nice.
having a trouble playing ghost notes. And so I was like, let's just kind of work on just just kind of getting that to happen. Let's just see if we can make this happen, and then you build from there. And so yeah, you've got to kind of, but again, it's how it's what you say. You don't just go, come on, who are you fooling? You can't play
Yeah.
that yet.
Right.
You
Right.
bum.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
do that. You have to
That's a good point,
ease
Bart.
Yeah.
Because of course
Yeah.
it's true that they're not equipped to do that thing. It's like, you're trying to jump into the deep end of the pool and you don't even know how to swim yet, right?
Right.
But there's something there though that's some excitement and some enthusiasm and some motivation, right? They're like, oh, like that motivates me. That gets me excited. The idea of being able to play that song, like that's great. Let's hold on to that
Yes.
motivation and let's channel it into working on the stepping stones that we may need to take to be able to get to that place. And if you keep
Yes.
following the track, you'll get there. It may take you 6 years, but you'll get there.
Okay,
Yes.
motivation and determination. There you go. There's both of them. The
Yes.
song's the motivation, the determination. It may take you 6 years, but you'll be able to play the Tool song or the Rush song or whatever.
Well,
And
this brings up that bigger question. I know we're kind of getting off topic here a little bit, but so what? That's what we do on deck. Of working on
squirrel.
of working on stuff that is not, it's like eating your vegetables, or working out. Like, oh my God, this is painful. Why would I do this? Well, you do it because you know that there's a long-term gain at the end of your daily efforts, right?
Right.
So, why do I have to sit here and do these, the rudiment ritual? Well, okay, if you want to be able to solo in the jazz context, you have to have the tools, right? So yeah. And not everyone's down for that, as we know, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine.
And as a teacher, that's where you step in as the leader, I think.
Yeah.
And explain it and go, no, look, and again, it's how you handle it. It's how you say it.
That's right. That's everything. And also, not everyone's cut out for that. Like, I have adult students who start, in their 50s and 60s. And like, they say at the beginning, like, I'm not trying to be the next famous drummer. I just want to enjoy playing drums and play in a band and play some parties. I'm like, great. We don't have to do all that technical work that maybe you would have to do, you'd want to do if you were younger and had higher aspirations. You just want to play in a country rock band. Great. Let's work on your train beats and your shuffles and your simple rock beats and your fills. And you're going to have fun doing that. And that's just great.
It reminds me too, that when someone comes in who has that kind of a agenda, that of course it's fantastic. And I encourage that they're motivated about it. Right. And I look at it and said, then, well, what if they're in a band and they've got to play this thing that's way over their head? Suddenly that's on me. I'm the leader of the lesson and I have to create a solution.
That's right.
And what it comes down to is compromise. Then I have to compromise how I might teach. And that's what a good leader does. Then I might say, well, we need to strip this down so you could at least play it on the gig. Maybe it's going to be a shuffle, but maybe without the in-between notes, just so you can get through the gig. And so it's not being attached to it's got to be this way for you to learn it, because we've got to keep it moving.
One of the core teaching principles that we espouse at Bandworks, and this is something we train our teachers on when we hire new teachers, is how to the importance of and how to find parts for each musician that are challenging but that they can succeed with.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
imagine, one scenario where someone comes in, they're already a hotshot guitar player, and you give them this simple thing, and they're like, "Well, this is boring. I want something more." Or you give them something that's over their head, and then they check out immediately because they can't do it, right? And then there's no happening. So you got to sort of dumb things down, or I should say simplify, to where they can pull something off. So it might be for one person that all they can do is hit, the G chord every time the G chord comes around. Okay, just hang there on the G, and whenever it comes around, when I point to you, you strum that chord, and you're going to be hitting the G chord at the right time. Or maybe they're just playing single string instead of chords, right? Or maybe they're just doing kick and snare and no hi-hat. But something where the thing can be successful and music can happen and they can be challenged. And then, when they're coming in with more skills, then you give them the next level thing. Okay, now let's add the little ghost notes here on the snare, and let's switch over to the ride at the chorus or whatever. So like you're saying, Rick, like, you can do anything. You can teach anybody any song if you simplify it enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Completely. So, I mean, it's a pretty big subject. I mean, and I guess when I came up with the idea or the thought process of it, it was because of things that I've been through, things that I'm watching certain students go through, and really, I guess as I get older, learning, or trying to learn not to always dig my heels in and not always be, the battering ram, and where is that fine line, and so that we can succeed and we can have success. And I think all that stuff is I think it's a good topic. I think it's a good topic.
Man, great stuff. Yeah, I appreciate all the contributions from our audience today, Jacob, and Jim, and all those guys. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we will be back. I'm not going to be here next week because I am taking my son to college on Monday.
Awesome!
Yeah,
I'm super excited.
Are you guys driving out there? What do you?
No, we're flying. It's like a 2-day drive to Chicago.
Okay.
We're gonna fly, and then we're gonna leave. We're gonna drop them off, spend a couple of days, and then Michelle and I are gonna go to Chicago and spend 3 or 4 days hanging out in Chicago before we come home.
Oh, how fun!
Oh, dude, that's great. We just played a club in Chicago, and God, for the life of me, it just jumped out of my head. I'm going to text you the name of this. It's a rock club, and I mean, the thing about it is it's just this cool rock club. It was a great club. So I'll say, if you're in the area, stop by and check it out. It was right on the river. It was a really cool club. Really cool.
Will do.
Wow.
So, yeah.
All right, guys. All right. Thanks for tuning in, and those guys will see you next week.
Thanks,
see you guys
everybody.
next week. Rick, go.
We're gonna fish.
Look at the fish.